So joining me today, it's journalist, author and dating expert Nichi Hodgson, trends guru James Woudhuysen, who's a visiting professor of forecasting and innovation at London South Bank University, and political commentator Jason Reed of Young Voices UK.
When I hear the phrase Boris Johnson making the right call, I have a picture of him reading up, taking notes, balancing the evidence, consulting neutral opinion and all of that. I'm not sure he's doing any of that, really. He's working from minute to minute. That's my impression.
You think what do you think?
I agree with James's assessment of Boris's character. I think he makes it up as he goes along. He's more worried about what the newspaper headlines will say the next day than anything else, and the health consequences or the political consequences of what he's doing. In this case, I think almost by accident, he's made the right call by not introducing new restrictions.
So even if he does the right thing and he gets it right in your eyes, it's still by accident. You cannot appear to give him credit for the fact that he's held off on a decision. Remember, Chris Whitty did say something quite opposite. Some people would say that Chris Whitty was suggesting that we should start to close things down and do this, that, and the other. And Boris sort of left it and said, no, he took a call that was slightly different.
Well, I think what Boris could and should do if he was laying down a marker and providing the proper leadership would be to say at this point we're going to have no more restrictions for, say, the next 6 months unless something dramatic happens, like they did after Freedom Day earlier this year when Sajid Javid said it's completely irreversible, we can never go back. And, of course, Omicron came along and ruined that. But Boris, he just, as I say, he makes it up as he goes along. He's not capable of looking beyond the immediate.
Is it realistic for him to put a time frame of 6 months? Because then we'll end up in the situation that you just described there. If he says in 6 months, then he'll be doing the backtracking that you just described, which wasn't helpful at all.
The problem is that we're never going to reach 100% immunity from COVID. Impossible. We're never going to have zero COVID. And so I think there comes a point where you have to draw a line. And I think we have passed that point. Omicron is exactly what you'd expect as a virus mutates. It's more transmissible, but milder. It's much less likely to kill you or to create serious illness. And so this is surely the point at which we say the costs of restrictions now outweigh the benefits.
Boris, it seems politically prudent above anything else.
Is that all you'd put it down to? Political prudence?
Quite possibly. Look, what it comes down to is this. If we can't be free now, that means we can never be free again. At some point, we have to learn to live with COVID. There's no way around that. If Boris Johnson really believed in the values he talks about of freedom and personal responsibility, then he would be laying down a marker very clearly and saying, as I said before, no more restrictions, and that's the end of it.
But that's what he said.
Omicron on its own isn't a saviour, but all these things build up a broader picture, right, of protection against COVID, combined with vaccines, combined with jabs, combined with natural immunity. The problem is that because we have a government that's more concerned about where the next round of cheese and wine is coming from than doing any long-term planning on COVID, we keep getting blindsided by these very obvious and predictable developments, such as new variants coming along. We badly need some proper leadership, some long-term planning to help us come out the other side of the pandemic. James, you know about forecasting. Can't you help them out?
Well, it is easy to say that. It's very difficult to change the habits of Parliament and, political parties. And
they have this information, even if it is slightly lagging. And I'm wondering why we're not hearing that.
I think there's something to be said for the fact that we do need to wean ourselves off this constant drip feed of information that we're getting. None of us have really had to go through a pandemic before in our lifetimes, and so we don't know how to deal with it, and we've become addicted to this rolling feed of vaccination numbers and case numbers and hospital numbers and death numbers and so on. At some point, we have to come out the other side of the pandemic. And there can be too much information. Of course, it should be in the public domain. We should know what's going on, but it doesn't need to be on the news 24 hours every day. We have to learn to live with COVID. We have to move on from COVID. And we can't do that if we keep obsessing over the numbers. And there's been an increase since last week. Is there another spike coming? Is this a new wave?
But you need the numbers to work out, how to act, right? So, and that helps us as a public. So we know how we can modify our behaviour to ensure that we don't make things worse.
But I think Jason's right.
You've got a point. You make a point. But at this point in time, this is where we want the information.
No,
right. So, Jason, what do you think of this? You're quite young. I just noticed your nail varnish. What were you thinking? Lift them up to the camera. Show them. Look at these.
Second time I've had to do that on this show.
Did you paint them yourself?
I did, yeah. It's quite badly done. That's why.
So, what do you think, then? You're quite young. The whole royal family business. Do you see a proper future for the royal family?
I think it's hard to say. We're all praying that the day never comes when the Queen passes, but when that does come, there will be a moment of reckoning, I think, for the future of the monarchy in this country. I don't think it's necessarily entirely clear that everyone is going to accept and welcome Charles with the same fervour that they do with the Queen, because his character doesn't carry the same gravitas that the Queen does. And I wouldn't be surprised if in my lifetime we see the beginning of the end of the monarchy.
The institution is contemptible. And I'm wishing it was the end, not the beginning of the end.
Really? No, I'm afraid I can't support any of you with that.
Well, the prediction I made was a solemn one. I'm not delighted about the end of the monarchy. I'm surprised that we've got a consensus forming over on that part of the
part of the part, not here, no. You there. What about the whole idea of the electric car, though?
Well, this is the thing. We're obsessing over electric cars, and meanwhile, China is building a new coal mine every 5 minutes. Everyone in the world is laughing at us. You were saying before, Nichi, about perhaps we didn't argue enough at COP26. All that would have resulted in is more commitments. All will have net zero by 2050, and now it's 2045, and now it's 2040. Look at all these commitments I'm making. Aren't I impressive? But we're the ones who are going to be footing the bill and who are going to have all these new restrictions and these new taxes to disincentivize us from flying and to encourage us to switch to electric cars. We're the ones who have to pay for it.
Well, I don't want an electric car.
This is the problem. There's a theme in here with the government incompetence, isn't there? They don't plan for the long term. If you're in government now, in this country or in any other country, you ultimately don't care what happens in 2050, 60, 70, because by that time you're not going to be in government. You're not going to be worrying about what's happening. And so we need to be planning for the future.